Have you ever considered working as an entrepreneur and taking your business ideas a little bit further to be a socialpreneur, whether you're being an artpreneur and using your creative skills or whether you're using another business concept? It's quite a good idea to do some preparation. I've said a couple of times that I'm in transition to become the artist that I always wanted to be. And as I reflect back, I think that some of the people in my life dissuaded me from following a path of art or creativity in any form, afraid of that concept of the starving artist and saying that if I was to become an artist, I'd be a starving artist, and whatever, there was a lot of negative speak about it. And the one mistake that I made that I really wish that people that have encouraged me to just go to the library and find any books related to the business side of starting a business, selling art, trying to figure out what my goals and my vision would be and what I'm really wanting for myself from my life. Unfortunately, I didn't think of that at the time that I was considering what kind of career I wanted. I was eager to use either my photography that I was involved in at the time, or ceramics I was doing, or the drawing and painting I was doing, and I wasn't quite sure whether I had to focus on one of them, if there was a way that I could combine them, which is what got me to go to a career guidance counselor, and I don't think that she gave me the right advice to become a therapist. Occupational therapy, if I was to be a therapist, occupational therapy is the best type of therapist for me to be, because I love creating, and occupational therapy uses all sorts of different kinds of activities as a medium of treatment. And the reason that I'm coming back to occupational therapy is in this first book that I started reading on my journey to learn all the concepts and everything I need for the business side of art relates to the time span when I was making a lot of meaningful changes in my career as an occupational therapist. So let me first share a little bit about this book, and I'll come back briefly to how it connects to my career as an occupational therapist and changes that I've been making, and then some thoughts that I have. We'll see where it goes. I'm hoping that this will be a playlist related to what I'm learning as I read certain books, perhaps book reviews. I'm not quite sure what format I'll pursue with these books, but this is the book that I shared a couple of weeks ago, probably a month and a bit ago, is this book, Sound the Great Shofar. It's essays of the imminence of redemption, and it's adapted from addresses by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the seventh Lubavitcher Rebbe, Menachem Mendel Schneerson. That's not Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who was quite a few Rebbes before him, but it's the seventh Rebbe. And I have completed reading this book, and it's brought me to realize I need to read it again. As I've said right at the start, when I started reading the book, I think I'm going to need to read this book a few times. Some of the concepts in it are a little bit confusing, partly because they were written all related to the time span in which these essays were given, and life has moved on from that. The essays took place in 1992, and that's a fact I'm going to come back to in a minute or so. These essays were written in 1992, so that's 33 years ago, 34 years ago. In any event, these essays were written quite a few decades ago. Life has continued. We don't yet have the Moshiach, and so what is the excitement about? There are some concepts that were extremely valuable, one being that it's upon every single Jew to do something towards hastening the redemption, learning about Moshiach. In fact, did you know that there's a mitzvah for us to wait for Moshiach every single day? And I've been thinking about that a lot recently, and I was thinking, how do you exactly wait for Moshiach? I mean, We know about sitting and waiting in a waiting room for a doctor or a dentist. We know about standing in the queue or the line, depending on which country you're from, which word you use, at the post office, in the supermarket, in governmental offices. We know about sitting and waiting, and we know it can be frustrating. And if you don't pay attention, somebody else can slip in and try and take your place. You might want to be busy reading, whether it's a book or listening to a video or a podcast or doing a drawing or doing something to use your time constructively, perhaps even reading some Tehillim. You're wanting to use your time constructively, but really all of the time you have to be watching the clock and watching the monitor and watching all the details and all the signs that tell you when your turn is going to come, and now it's your turn to go to whichever appointment you have or whatever it is you're waiting for. So I was thinking about it and thinking, how do we really, I'm waiting for Moshiach, I'm waiting. So I thought about it a little bit, and I thought, we're supposed to have in mind all the time that we're waiting for Moshiach, but at the same time, instead of only waiting, come and join me and let's do what we can to prepare for Moshiach. That's my excitement. And in this little book that I started reading also, you can see I have a marker in place. It's a thin book, so I'm hoping I'm going to get through it far more quickly than the other book. And this is all about Moshiach. This book has a lot of excerpts from various prophets that tell us little bits of what to expect when Moshiach might come. It is an unfolding process that supposedly will take place. As is mentioned in Sound the Great Shofar, mentions a number of changes that started to happen at the time of the life of the Rebbe when he was about 90 or 90 years old. And there were changes happening in world history. And yes, those are exciting. And yes, there are changes happening in the world. But when I look around me, I don't know about you, but I see all sorts of things that need improving and working on. And there are a couple of things that are recommended in these books as to what we can do to help to hasten the Mashiach. The one is studying Torah. The other is spreading acts of kindness, acts of loving kindness, and we have to know what that is. Waiting for the Mashiach is a really important one, and the more that you wait and the more that you hope for Mashiach, that action on its own, that anticipation, that excitement, if you can get to that, or the crying, the whatever emotion you can access while you're waiting, if you really just sit in a chair and perhaps face the door, face the direction that's towards the kotel, wherever that would be from your home. Sit and just wait for a little bit and say to yourself, I'm waiting for Mashiach, and allow whatever emotions to come up. And then think to yourself, what do I need to do in my life that if Mashiach came now would bother me that I hadn't completed? Do you need to get a special garment to wear to greet the Mashiach? And that actually is quite a teaching. There's a story that the Chafetz Chaim used to carry around a special little case with him wherever he went. And when he was asked, what is in your suitcase? He said, that's my new suit that I have to wear when Mashiach comes, and I can put it on to greet Mashiach. So do you need a special garment that you're going to be wearing to greet Mashiach? If so, either start looking in the stores as to what that garment would be for you. Set aside a little fund for yourself if you need to, whether you need to put aside a certain coin every day or however you need to save for it to have that special garment. Make sure that your wardrobe or your suitcase or what have you is going to be clean, and take care of that garment so that it's going to be in the right condition when you're ready to greet Mashiach. Make sure that you've cleaned up whatever you need to in your relationships. And with that, there's a powerful thought that I had a couple of weeks ago as I was going through the evening prayer, where we say that we forgive all those who've wronged us, and it at the beginning of the Kriyat Shema Alamita, it goes through a sequence of the kinds of hurts that somebody might have done to us. And some things might be quite difficult, but I was thinking to myself, if the whole nation of Israel is supposed to be one body, then we don't usually bear a grudge against our little toe if we've hurt it, or if somehow, I don't know, you tried to take your hand out of your jumper or your sweater or your garment, whatever you were doing, and accidentally you hurt yourself, and then you're angry with your hand forever. You don't usually do that. So that's a good reason as to why to forgive, because if we're all the body of Am Yisrael, we're from the same nation, the same body, we want to forgive each other so that we're ready, that we can be one body when Moshiach comes. What are the other things that you need to correct or to do? We have lots on the go. That's why we called the work that we're doing Chesed Ve'emet, which is kindness and truth. And a lot of what my husband is doing is focused on teaching Torah. I have a little bit of Torah that I teach. Mostly I'm focused on a transition that I'm doing to use my art and my creative skills and books that I'm doing to take all of my past experiences from having been an occupational therapist and some ideas I have and art I'm creating. As my website becomes polished up and ready to show, you'll be able to understand how it's all coming together. And I'm working on a special collection that you'll be able to see has some causes to support, one of them being establishing scholarships to assist my husband's Torah teaching. These are some of the things we're doing. I'm not going to share everything we're doing right now, but if you subscribe to the channel, if you follow along, if you let me know your email address and sign up for my newsletter, you'll be able to see more developments as they unfold. And with that, I'll jump back in time a little bit. One of the things that was really interesting as I was reading these essays, I kept on thinking about the time span where I was in my life at the time that the Lubavitcher Rebbe was trying to get people excited about the Moshiach. And at that time, in 1992, that a lot of these essays, or most of these essays, were written. In 1992, I was in my first job working as an occupational therapist. By 1992, I think I was already almost 1991 I started working. 92 was my second year of working in neurosurgery. By then I had started in neurosurgery and ophthalmology and maternity. In 1992 I was doing neurosurgery and I think I was starting to work in rheumatology then. And I was facing a lot of man's inhumanity to man. We were seeing the results of man's inhumanity to man in all sorts of different ways, whether people came in from horrible car accidents, whether it was the results of gang warfare, whether it was domestic violence. Of course, there were other illnesses and other causes for people coming in with various ailments, whether it was backache that needed surgery, whether it was a tumor, or various reasons as to why people were coming in. And more I found myself saying to myself, physical rehabilitation is advancing and developing year by year. There are new courses coming out, there's new equipment coming out, there are new techniques coming out. The profession of occupational therapy is growing and developing. You can read a lot about it in my book, Healing Your Life Through Activity. And the thing that got to me more and more is I kept thinking, I don't know to what extent I can be able to go through the ward rounds every week. And sometimes a couple of times a week, we would attend ward rounds and team meetings and have to hear these stories of how people became injured, what the causes were of their coming into hospital. And more I thought to myself, the benefits of therapy of occupational therapy, but I want to find a different way because it was too soul-destroying for me. I couldn't hear those stories anymore. I even tried going for trauma debriefing, and the therapist, hearing what I'd witnessed, what I'd experienced being a therapist, said, it's too much. I can't hear it myself. So I started searching, and yes, I discovered a lot that I can do, and I did do, and as I was starting to develop a service of empowering women in the life roles of wife and mother. And I still have certain books and certain online courses that I'm creating related to that whole service that I was developing. But the other idea that kept on coming to me as slowly I began my own path to come back to a Torah path. I didn't know the Lubavitcher Rebbe existed. I didn't really know what the Moshiach was. I knew about the non-Jewish concept. I didn't know from a Jewish point of view, and I didn't know that what I was searching for was the redemption. So I'm appealing to you to come on board, to join us. We might just be a couple, but what we're working on is needed for every Jew. You can start your own groups, you can start your own Torah teaching, you can do your own things, but you don't want to have to visit a relative in hospital. Believe me, you don't. All the treatment sessions, all the different procedures that one has to go through. When I read the potential that one day the whole world is going to be filled with the knowledge of God, and one day there won't be any more this jealousy that causes fights and arguments and injuries coming into hospitals, and there won't be any more people driving around with such haste that they can't have the patience to wait just that extra second or two that would prevent an accident. So join us in spreading Torah. We have a Patreon page. You can join. We recently connected with an Amotah. We're looking into doing a crowd fundraiser. We have books out. We have material out. You'll see lots more of our videos. We're hoping to expand my husband's YouTube channel. We have things we're doing. We're not the only people doing it, but it's my enthusiasm and it's my way of saying, if occupational therapy is involved in prevention, promotion, and rehabilitation, I prefer the prevention part. And the best lifestyle that I can advocate is the lifestyle that the Torah teaches, which is to follow the Torah, to follow all the ways of Hashem. You can follow the latest playlist that my husband started on Tomei Devorah to learn what does it mean to walk in the ways of Hashem? What are the attributes that Hashem shows to us? There's so much we can learn. There's so much work to do. And while we're waiting for Moshiach, join us to prepare for Moshiach. I hope it's going to be speedily. I hope it's going to be soon. In the meantime, come join us to chat in another video. Actually, before I go, I wanted to share that I started researching a little bit more as to what books I could read to help me to reach my goals from the business point of view. And although I was given about 5 or 6 books to read about the socialpreneur, about real artists don't starve, I've discovered all sorts of other books to help me to improve. Our books on Amazon, books to help from the sales of how to sell one's art online, all sorts of books, all sorts of different angles. I have to decide which one to do next. I have this book to finish. I hope to come back and share a little bit more. Perhaps I have a few ideas as to what I can do to share a bit about this little book, this thinner book. And then the next review, I hope, will be from a different angle, from the side of the business skills related to being an artist. So if you have the desire to be an artist, let me know what your questions are, and if I can answer them as I'm doing my research and sharing other books, I'll be happy to do so. Let me know if you're interested in joining my email newsletter, and otherwise I look forward to chatting in another video. Ciao for now.